They said they loved you, but only showed up when they were lonely. They touched your body, but never really saw your heart. That's not love. That's convenience. That's using you, not choosing you. Real love doesn't objectify. It dignifies. They say they love you. They smile, they compliment, they touch you. But the truth is, love without depth is not love. It's attraction dressed in flattery. And attraction alone is never enough. Because when someone sees only your body, when they measure your value by how good you look, how much access they have to your skin, how much you give in, that's not love. That's desire, and desire without respect is just consumption. It's someone feeding on what you offer, not someone pouring back into who you are. Love values the whole person, not just the physical form. It sees your soul, your thoughts, your laugh, your dreams, your fears, your silence, and still wants to stay. Love doesn't fade when your hair changes, your weight fluctuates, or when you say no. Love isn't conditional on your physical presence or your willingness to be available. It's patient. It's present. It holds space for the days you're not at your best, for the moments when you're insecure, guarded, quiet, or messy. Love doesn't panic when you need emotional safety. It doesn't run when you need time. It doesn't call you too much when you're asking to be seen. The problem is many of us grew up learning that our value is tied to being wanted. That if someone desires us physically, it must mean we're special. But being desired is not the same as being respected. You can be wanted and still be disrespected. You can be touched and still feel empty. You can lie beside someone and feel completely alone. That's the dangerous illusion when people confuse usage with love. They confuse intensity with intimacy. Just because someone is close to your body doesn't mean they're close to your heart. There's a sharp difference between being admired and being loved. Admiration is loud. It's full of compliments, messages, hands, and attention. But love is quiet in a different way. It listens more than it speaks. It protects more than it praises. It remains consistent even when you're not shining. Love isn't obsessed with how you look. It's committed to how you feel. And if someone values only your body, they don't truly see you. They don't love you. They like what you give them. They like how you make them feel. That's usage. That's consumption. That's them being full while you stay empty. And here's the truth. Many don't want to face people will keep using you if you let them. If you don't know your worth beyond the mirror, beyond the compliments, beyond the bedroom, they will define your worth for you. And they'll reduce you to a function, someone who's attractive, available, and easy to access. But you're not a body with a voice. You're a soul with boundaries. And if someone isn't willing to honor your boundaries, they don't deserve your softness. You deserve to be loved in the light and the dark, on your loud days and your quiet ones. You deserve a love that stands when your body can't perform, when your energy is low, when your smile fades. Real love doesn't shrink when you say no. It expands to hold your voice. So if someone is only showing up when they want something from you and disappearing when you need something from them, that's not love. That's transaction. If they only reach for you when it benefits them, they're not building with you, they're feeding on you. That's not a relationship. That's survival on your energy. You are not a safe space to be entered and exited without care. You are not a vending machine of affection. You are not a substitute for their loneliness. and your body is not proof of your worth. Let this be your reminder. The right person will see more than your shape. They'll listen when you speak. They'll stay when you cry. They'll love you when you need space. They'll respect your pace. They'll value your no just as much as your yes, because love isn't measured by desire. It's revealed in dignity, and you are not meant to be used. You are meant to be loved. Fully, truly, deeply, without conditions, without demands, without performance. So if your worth feels tied to how much you give, how good you look, or how much you agree, pause. Look again. That's not love. That's exploitation in disguise. And you are worth more than someone's appetite. You deserve a love that chooses your mind, your heart, your peace, not just your body. Because when someone really sees you, the whole you, they don't just want you, they honor you. And that is love. Everything else is just noise. Being desired is not the same as being respected. That's one of the most painful lessons many people learn too late. When the excitement fades, when the compliments stop, when the attention dries up the moment you set a boundary. Desire can be loud, hot, intoxicating. It can make you feel wanted, craved, chosen. But desire without respect is dangerous because it confuses affection with obsession. It makes you think you're valued when in reality, you're being consumed. Respect is the quiet truth behind real love. It shows up when nobody's watching. It honors your boundaries even when it's inconvenient. It listens when you speak, and it pauses when you say, stop. Respect doesn't push past your discomfort. It doesn't test your limits. It doesn't guilt you into giving more than you're ready to give. But desire, unchecked selfish desire, will always take. It will flatter you to open the door, but once inside, it will ignore every sign, every no, every tear. It will use your kindness as an opportunity and your softness as a weakness. You can be deeply desired and still be disrespected. In fact, the most dangerous relationships are often the ones where desire is mistaken for love. The truth is, anyone can want you. Anyone can find you attractive. Anyone can chase you when it serves them. But not everyone will protect your dignity once they've got you. Not everyone will treat your heart like it matters. Some people only respect your body, and once they feel they've claimed it, they lose interest in everything else you are. And when that happens, you're left confused. Because it felt like love, it looked like love, but it wasn't. It was possession. It was performance. It was power disguised as romance. Real love is not loud desire. Real love is calm, patient respect. It doesn't rush. It doesn't demand. It doesn't make you feel like you're constantly auditioning for someone's attention. And it especially doesn't punish you for saying no. If you've ever had to choose between being respected and being desired, let me make it clear, always choose respect. Because respect stays when beauty fades. Respect holds when lust weakens. Respect values you even when you have nothing to offer but honesty, vulnerability, or silence. When someone truly respects you, your no is met with understanding, not manipulation. Your boundaries aren't a challenge to be overcome, they're a line to be honored. If someone pouts, pressures, or pulls away the moment you speak up for yourself, they weren't loving you. They were loving what you gave them access to, and love that only exists in comfort isn't real. Because true love doesn't fold under pressure. It deepens when you show your truth. Desire without respect is exhausting. It burns fast, then leaves you empty. It gives you highs that feel euphoric, then crashes that leave you wondering what you did wrong. You start to question your worth, your appearance, your choices. You start overgiving just to keep their attention. You sacrifice your boundaries to maintain their interest. And over time, you lose yourself trying to hold on to someone who only ever wanted a part of you, not the whole you. But let's make one thing clear. Being respected is not boring. It's not unromantic. It's not less passionate. In fact, when love is rooted in respect, it becomes deeper, more sustainable, more honest, more fulfilling. You don't have to second guess yourself. You don't have to compete for love. You don't have to compromise your peace, because the person who respects you will never make you feel like you're too much for having needs, standards, or a voice. And that's what many people don't understand. Respect is the foundation. Without it, desire turns into control. Attraction turns into entitlement. Touch becomes a transaction, and intimacy becomes manipulation. You are not here to be a trophy, a fantasy, a placeholder, or a dopamine hit. You are a whole human being, not just a body, not just a moment of pleasure, not just a pretty face. If someone desires you but does not respect your values, your voice, or your vision, walk away. No matter how much they say they want you, no matter how intense the connection feels, if it comes at the cost of your dignity, it's not worth it. You deserve a love where you feel safe, where your mind is valued just as much as your appearance, where you don't have to trade pieces of yourself to stay desirable. You deserve to be chosen, not just wanted, to be heard, not just touched, to be held emotionally, not just physically. You deserve a love where you don't have to shrink to be accepted, where your silence isn't the only thing that keeps the peace, and where your body isn't the only thing that keeps someone interested. Respect doesn't ask you to prove your worth. It doesn't disappear when you speak your truth. It doesn't belittle, compare, or control. Respect sees you as a person, not a product. It loves you beyond your body, beyond your yes, beyond your appearance. And in a world obsessed with desire, being respected is the real love story. Not flashy, not loud, but real, steady, safe, strong. That's what you deserve every time. Validation that fades with looks was never love to begin with. It was attention disguised as affection. It was admiration in the form of short-term interest. It was never rooted in your heart, your mind, or your soul. Only in the surface, and surfaces fade. Beauty changes. Bodies evolve. And if someone's love for you is tied to something that's temporary, it was never love. It was conditional approval. It was convenience. It was ego, not intimacy. Too many people confuse validation with love. They think the compliments, the stares, the touches mean something deeper. They start to believe that being praised for how they look is the same as being seen for who they are. But the truth is, if someone only makes you feel good when you're attractive to them, then you're not being loved. You're being used. Because love doesn't fade with time. Love grows deeper as it knows more. Love isn't fragile. It's not skin deep. It doesn't vanish when your glow dims or your confidence wavers. When someone truly loves you, your worth isn't measured by a number on a scale, the shade of your lipstick, or the way your clothes fit. It's measured by the strength in your voice, by the way you carry yourself when no one's watching, by how much kindness you hold even when you're tired. Love sees the invisible things, your integrity, your patience, your thoughts, your effort, not just your appearance on a good day. But here's where it gets dangerous when you begin to internalize shallow validation. You start chasing it. You try to stay desirable because it feels like the only thing keeping people around. You overextend, overperform, and overgive just to keep being seen. You wear what they like. You post what they want. You smile when it hurts. You say yes when you should say no, all because you're afraid that if you stop being beautiful in their eyes, you'll stop being worthy in their heart. And that is a prison. Because when your value is based on something you cannot fully control, like aging, beauty, or physical perfection, you will always feel insecure. You will always feel replaceable. You'll constantly wonder if they still want you, still see you, still desire you. And that anxiety doesn't come from love. It comes from instability. It comes from knowing deep down that if your looks fade, their love will fade too. But that's not what you deserve. You deserve a love that holds you in every version of yourself, young or old, strong or soft, radiant or raw. You deserve a love that says, I see your soul, not, I like your body. A love that listens to your silence, not just your laughter. A love that values your presence, not your performance. Because if someone only praises you when you're perfect, they don't love you. They love the idea of you. The version that makes them feel good, the version that looks good next to them. But love isn't supposed to feel like a spotlight. It's supposed to feel like home. And maybe you've been there, loved for your looks, then left when you needed more. Maybe you've had someone who showed up with flowers but disappeared when you were hurting. Someone who adored your body but ignored your boundaries. Someone who made you feel powerful when you were shining but made you feel invisible when you were struggling. That's not love. That's usage. That's convenience. That's someone using your beauty to fill their emptiness. You are not an accessory. You are not a highlight reel. You are not someone's escape from their own lack of self-worth. You are not meant to be loved only when you're easy to love. You are meant to be cherished when you're quiet, when you're tired, when you're real. And real love doesn't look away when the glow fades. Real love leans in. It sees the lines on your face and calls them stories. It sees the stretch marks and calls them strength. It sees the sadness in your eyes and stays anyway. You don't need to keep proving your worth through how you look. You don't need to keep earning affection by staying beautiful. The people who are meant to love you will love you in sweatpants and silence, not just in makeup and motion. They will love you when you're bold and when you're broken. And that love, that steady, deep, unwavering love will never be based on how you appear. It will be based on who you are. So the next time someone praises you for your beauty, ask yourself this: would they still see me if the lights went out? If the makeup came off? If I cried instead of smiled? If I said no instead of yes? If the answer is no, then walk away. Because validation that disappears when you stop performing is not love. And you were never born to be a performance. You were born to be a person, seen, known, loved fully, not conditionally. The most powerful love is not loud. It doesn't scream over your insecurities. It sits with them. It doesn't vanish when you lose your glow. It holds your hand through the darkness. That's the love you deserve. And anything less is just noise. Wrapped in charm, covered in compliments, but hollow in the moments that matter. If someone only sees your body but never your heart, it's not love, it's lust. If they compliment your shape but never ask about your soul, that's not intimacy. That's interest. There's a difference between being touched and being truly seen. And too often, people mistake sexual attention for emotional connection. They believe being wanted means being loved. But being wanted is not the same as being valued. You can be someone's obsession and still be disrespected. You can be physically close to someone who's emotionally miles away. You can give your body and still feel completely unseen. This is what toxic relationships do. They train you to believe that your body is your only power, your only worth, your only access to affection. So you begin to say yes, even when you want to say no. You start bending your boundaries to stay desirable. You silence your discomfort because you're afraid they'll leave. You give in, thinking it will lead to something deeper. Love, commitment, security. But it never does, because love that starts with pressure doesn't grow into peace. It turns into performance. It becomes a cycle of giving more than you're ready to give just to be chosen by someone who never chose all of you. Only the parts that benefit them. Sexual pressure in a relationship doesn't always look aggressive. Sometimes it's subtle. Sometimes it's guilt-wrapped. It sounds like, if you love me, you would, or why are you acting like this now? It can look like withdrawing affection when you set a boundary, like treating your no as a challenge instead of a decision, like making you feel dramatic for having limits. It's not always loud, but it's always dangerous, because it erodes your self-trust. It teaches you to ignore your own discomfort for someone else's approval. And that is not love. That is manipulation. Love honors your no. Love respects your boundaries. Love doesn't punish you for protecting your peace. If someone pressures you sexually, directly or indirectly, they don't love you, they're using you. Full stop. No matter how long you've been together, no matter how many gifts they give, no matter how romantic they seem when they want something, if they twist your words, test your patience, and treat your body like a transaction, that's not love. That's control disguised as closeness. Toxic relationships often start with intense desire, the kind that feels flattering, the kind that makes you feel special, irresistible, chosen. But soon, the pressure begins. The expectation creeps in. You feel like you owe them something for their attention. You feel like saying no might break the connection. You begin to equate love with compliance, with submission, with silence. You convince yourself it's normal, that maybe everyone compromises like this. But deep down, you feel it. That sick, quiet anxiety. That feeling that you're giving too much of yourself and getting too little in return. Let's be clear. You do not owe your body to anyone. Not for love, not for attention, not for security, not for fear of abandonment. Your body is yours. And the right person will never ask you to betray it for their pleasure. The right person will never confuse love with access. They will never make you feel like intimacy is a test you have to pass to earn their care. They will love you with their hands off just as much as with them on. Because real love is patient. Real love is gentle. Real love can wait. Real love never forces you into emotional debt for physical moments. And if you've ever been in a situation where you felt pressured, used, or guilted into intimacy, it wasn't your fault. Let me say that again, it wasn't your fault. Manipulation doesn't always wear a mask. Sometimes it wears a smile. Sometimes it speaks gently. But it still robs you of your peace. It still leaves you feeling hollow, and you deserve to be whole. You deserve a love that holds your heart more tightly than it grabs your waist. A love that asks for your thoughts before it reaches for your body. A love that doesn't measure closeness by skin, but by soul. You are not selfish for saying no. You are not difficult for having standards. You are not too much for asking to be respected. You are not broken for needing space, safety, or time. The people who truly care for you will never make you feel small for having boundaries. In fact, they will celebrate them, because someone who respects you sees your boundaries not as barriers, but as signs that you value yourself. And that's someone worth keeping. So if you're caught in a cycle where love feels like pressure, where connection feels like coercion, where you feel loved only when you're giving, stop, step back, breathe. You are not here to be consumed. You are not here to be convenient. You are here to be loved fully, freely, and without condition. And love without respect is not love at all. It's just performance. And you were never born to perform. You were born to be seen, to be safe, to be loved without pressure, without fear, and without having to trade your body to feel worthy. That's the love you deserve every time.